The Masterworks Spear of Annihilation is one T92 weapon I like to refer to as the noobs T92, as extra damage is gained for doing absolutely nothing while using it. In this video we're going to cover what makes this spear so good, so when you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. This video has been sponsored by Adventure Ages. Adventure Ages is Hyperhippo's newest idle free-to-play mobile game, following some other successful titles like Adventure Capitalist and Communist. In this game, you're a time-traveling agent tasked with a mission to repair the timeline and upgrade your time machine. You do this by gathering resources, purchasing upgrades, and automating your processes. While doing so, you advance through different ages from the Bronze Age all the way up to the Atomic Age and beyond. While playing, you can collect up to 100 historical heroes from Julius Caesar to Marilyn Monroe that each have their special effects and perks. Adventure Ages is the perfect second screen game to play alongside another game or perhaps play on the go when you have nothing else to do. And even if you do, don't worry, as this is an idle game and you progress constantly, even when offline. Currently they have a competition going on the Instagram page for you to win 1000 gems, so if you're interested in getting a huge boost, be sure to check that out. There has never been a better time to start playing, so if you're interested in this game, be sure to check it out, linked in the description below. The Masterworks Spear of Annihilation costs around 450 to 500 million GP and is considered a stabbing weapon, to no surprise. It has 2056 main damage and 2577 accuracy. The special passive effect of the Masterworks Spear of Annihilation is that it extends all bleed's duration by 50%. This means that Blood Tendrils, Dismember and Slaughter, which all normally deal 5 hits, now deal 7, and together with the Strength Skill Cape perk, the Dismember ability will actually hit a total of 10 times. Greater Barge bleeds are not considered actual bleeds and are not extended by the spear. While this weapon can be used as a main hand weapon, it is ideally used as a lunging switch, as lunging increases the effective damage of bleeds, especially good for targets that are stationary. In combination with the Strength Skill Cape perk, Dismember now lasts so long that it only takes about 2 seconds before you can use the ability again. This means you could have a bleed going and dealing damage to a boss at almost all times, for doing absolutely nothing. Keep in mind that bleeds are not affected by the Berserk ability, so using bleeds during Berserk is a waste of your Zerk. Together, these bleeds can do a total of over 30,000 damage against your target by just those bleeds and a couple of poison hits here and there. That is pretty crazy for just using this spear on its own. Now, if you add Mutated Barge bleed to that, which doesn't get extended by the spear, but let's say you were to bleed Mutated Barge and then use your other bleeds as well, outside of a Zerk rotation, it will kill the King Black Dragon just by the bleeds. Now keep in mind, those are average hits. The max hit of all these abilities, if you were to max them out, could easily be over 50,000 damage, especially if you're able to move your target, because Slaughter then triples the damage. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how good this spear is. The passive effect of this spear does work in PvP, and it is absolutely brutal when used in a rotation, especially if your target is running away from you. And if you consider the fact that Limitless works in PvP, I would not want to be on the receiving end. That being said, I am not going to risk this spear in PvP. There are too many tricks to make me lose my weapon, and I don't think it's worth it for just one clip. So here are some white portal clips of me and Satay here, where I try and get him down with as many bleeds as possible, and it wrecks in PvP, this spear. I thought it'd be a nice addition to the video, and if you're interested in PvP and you don't mind risking money, this spear is going to be very effective at PvP. At Corporal Beast, this weapon is best in slot, and it is an absolute monster. The bleeds deal so much damage, you could easily AFK using your cannon, soul split, and legendary pet. You just kill him a little bit, you just vibe there, and honestly, Corporal Beast has never been easier than this. Speaking of AFKing, this spear, together with Trim Masterwork, a Scrimmy Vampirism, and some incense sticks, or the Venom Blood perk on your gear, is good enough for you to AFK Greg. Yes, AFKing Grigorvik, the hardest hitting boss of God Wars Dungeon 2 excluding Telos, can be AFK'd or semi-AFK'd with this spear and the right gear setup. Now that is something extremely pleasant, because I do like myself some AFK content sometimes when you're working on something else, watching some Netflix, or perhaps editing a video. That being said, after AFKing Greg for a couple of hours, I can say it is not actually fully AFK, as in you can move away from your PC for 5 minutes, as there are kills where you do need to eat food or use your enhanced Excalibur, and you do need to pay some attention. But most of the time you'll be fine, and there are times where you can literally move away from your PC. But remember, this is a boss you're AFKing, so that is to be expected. The fact that you can pretty much almost fully AFK this boss is already quite the achievement. In addition to Gagorvik, I did also try Vindicta and Gorvek, and it's seamless. You can just camp soul split, stab Vindicta with the spear, and you don't really need food whatsoever, given that your defense level is reasonably high and you have at least Bandos or better. Why am I mentioning this? Well, if you want to camp a weapon at a boss, this is a great weapon to do so with. That being said, I still recommend using it as a lunging switch instead, and using your other weapons to your advantage in your damage rotation. Also, if you're planning to do Twin Furies with this spear for whatever reason, again you'd want to be using a scythe instead, and using this spear as a lunging switch for your bleeds. I'm not sure if anyone would actually use this spear as a main hand weapon and go to Twin Furies instead of other bosses that are slightly harder, but I thought it would be worth mentioning. At Araxor, this spear can add to your damage rotation and increase your kill speeds, but there's one big catch. The blades last so long that when Araxor does web, and the chances of this happening are quite high, you're going to take some reflect damage from those bleeds, and if you're unlucky it's Slaughter and you just moved Araxor and you're going to take a lot of damage. It seems that a lot of things are good at Elite Dungeon 3, and the Masterworks Spear of Annihilation is no different. It excels at all 3 bosses, as Elite Dungeon 3 is very well done with melee. The extra bleeds at the Crassian Leviathan will speed up your kills regardless of what you're doing. Though that being said, use your thresholds like Slaughter and Blood Tendrils outside of your Zerk and ZGS rotation. If you're using Revolution and manually pressing your abilities at the same time like I am, you do sometimes occasionally use this member by accident because of your Revolution bar. You can try and avoid this by going and using full manual, but that's completely up to you. The boss where this spear excels the most at is the Ambassador, aka the final boss of Elite Dungeon 3. The extra duration of the bleeds just makes the spinner so much easier, especially if you can pop off a bleed just before the beam hits you. Now in the clips you're going to be seeing me using a greater ricochet switch, which is a little strange, but I found it to work for me personally, so just ignore me using a bow in these clips. Now, if you're slightly more experienced at the Ambassador than I am, because I really don't have much kill count, you'll be getting all the spinners pretty much every single time without too many problems. As for the final phase at the Ambassador, the DPS phase where you try to get him down to 0 and try to avoid him healing from the hands, it makes a big difference. It makes a massive impact on how much easier it's going to be. And if you plan to go for the Elite Dungeon 3 log, this spear is an absolute must. I do occasionally also take the spear with me on Slayer tasks at monsters that do have high HP, but I wouldn't say it's really a big improvement. Sure, it helps, it gets your kills per hour higher, especially at Acheron Mammoths, Wyverns, Moss Guns, it does help, but it's not essential, and it really won't make that big of an impact, at least in my personal opinion. It isn't really worth the money if you're just looking to buy it for Slayer. Sure, it increases your kills per hour, but it also increases the amount of effort you need to do per hour, because you're using it as a switch. As a main hand weapon, the Scythe is simply the ideal melee weapon for Slayer. Sometimes dual wield is great too, like at Wyverns, where you're switching around using a bladed dive and so on. Alternatively, you could just use laceration boots. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, this is a weapon you'd want to invest in for PvM, and while it works at Slayer, you wouldn't want to buy it just for Slayer. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.